Have you ever felt like you're just drowning in information? Data coming at you from everywhere, and it feels almost impossible to find the real insights, the stuff that actually matters. We've all been there, right? Staring at these huge piles of raw data, just trying to answer one simple question.
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge challenge, especially, in areas like sales and marketing where things move so fast. You've got these JSON files landing all the time, maybe from lots of different places. And the real trick is turning all that raw noise into a clear signal, something you can act on.
hmm
And you need it fast and reliably.
Exactly. So how do we actually do that? Go from just data overload to real insight? That's what we're diving into today. We're looking at a really interesting data pipeline designed specifically for this kind of sales and marketing JSON data, built on Databricks. Think of it less like a pipe and maybe more like a refinery.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, raw data goes in one end and it goes through these stages, bronze, silver, gold, getting cleaner and more valuable. We're basically going to unpack the design for this thing, find the key bits you need to build something automated, secure, and importantly, governed.
And it's really about moving beyond just looking back, what happened last week. This kind of setup lets you see what's happening almost as it happens. Spot trends, catch issues, minutes after the data arrives. That's a game changer for agility. Plus, it's built using all the good stuff, checkpointing, watermarking, CI/CD, Unity catalog for governance. Real enterprise-grade practices.
Okay, let's get into this refinery idea then. The big picture. It's an end-to-end solution, right? A data highway. We're talking about grabbing raw JSON sales.json, marketing.json, maybe processing them, checking the quality, transforming them, and finally delivering these curated data sets that are actually ready for reports.
And it's interesting how they arrive. These JSONs can show up really frequently. Sometimes it's like a constant stream. Other times it's big batches dropped off. They usually land in some central cloud directory.
Yeah.
ADLS, Gen 2, S3, GCS, whatever you're using, like a designated landing zone.
Right. And once it lands, it kicks off this journey. You mentioned the medallion architecture, bronze, silver, gold layers. Can you briefly explain why that layered approach is so useful?
Yeah, sure. It's all about refining the data step by step. Each layer has a specific job. Bronze is raw intake, silver cleans it up, gold makes it business ready, it makes the whole process manageable and builds trust. You know exactly what state the data is in at each layer.
Okay, got it. So let's walk through it. Layer one, bronze, the ingestion gatekeeper you called it. What's its main job?
Its job is simple but crucial. Capture everything. All the raw, unvalidated data as it comes in. No filtering yet. Think of it like a secure archive for your original input. You never lose the source data.
And how does it actually grab all these files, especially if they're pouring in?
It uses a tool called Autoloader. And this is where it gets pretty clever. Autoloader reads the JSONs, and it can also figure out the data types by itself in for column types. That's the feature.
Oh, so it knows if something's a number or a date without me telling it.
Exactly. Saves a ton of hassle. And it's really efficient at picking up new files from cloud storage. It can even handle changes in the data structure over time. That's the merge schema part. If a new field appears in your JSON, it adapts.
That sounds incredibly useful. Dealing with the changing data formats is always a headache.
Totally. It makes the pipeline much more robust, less brittle, like having a smart assistant organizing things. And the pipeline also adds some handy metadata automatically, like source file, so you know where the data came from.
Ah, traceability.
Yep, and ingest time, so you know exactly when it landed. All this raw stuff gets stored in a Delta table, main.bronze.salesmarketing. Delta Lake brings reliability-like transactions to your data lake, and it uses checkpoint location. That means if the process hiccups, it knows exactly where to restart from. No lost data, no duplicates on ingestion.
Okay, bronze gets it all in safely. Now, silver layer. The quality control station. We've got everything, warts and all, in bronze. How do we start cleaning it up in silver? What's the focus?
Right, silver is all about quality and reliability. Taking that raw data from bronze and making sure it's trustworthy before anyone downstream uses it. It's like polishing the raw gemstone, getting rid of the imperfections.
So what kind of imperfections are we talking about? Missing values? Duplicates?
Both, yeah. We run specific data quality checks, like making sure important fields say amount or date aren't empty. Using is not null. Missing amounts can really mess up your totals later on, and crucially, it handles deduplication. It uses drop duplicates based on maybe an id field and that source file metadata we added.
Why is deduplication so critical here?
Oh, I've seen it happen. A team makes a big decision based on a sales report, but nobody realized the same sales were counted twice because of some glitch. Skews everything. This step prevents those kinds of costly mistakes. The cleaned, Deduplicated data then lands in its own delta table, main.silver.salesmarketing, also using checkpoint location for that same resilience.
Makes sense. Clean, reliable data in silver. Now, the final step, gold layer. The business insight engine. We've got clean data. What's the big challenge or maybe the big opportunity in turning that into something a business user can actually, use?
The big opportunity here is transforming that clean silver data into formats that directly answer business questions. Aggregations, summaries, KPIs. This is where you create the metrics that people track on dashboards. I think the challenge sometimes is making sure you aggregate it in a way that's truly useful for the end user, not still too technical. You need to think about their dashboards.
Can you give an example? How does that transformation create those KPIs?
Sure, a common one is grouping the data. Maybe you window it by day using window date one day and also group by category. Then you sum up the amount to get a total amount for each category each day. That gives you things like daily sales per product line or marketing spend per campaign, directly usable insights. This curated, aggregated data goes into the main.gold.curated sales marketing delta table. And often, you'll use output mode complete here, which means the table always shows the full up-to-date result, which is great for dashboards that need the complete picture.
Okay, so the data flows bronze, silver, gold. But what about managing all this data long term? Let's talk data retention and archival. Why bother with that?
Well, it's mainly about cost and compliance. You probably don't need, or maybe aren't allowed, to keep all the granular data in your fastest, most expensive storage forever, especially the aggregated gold data. You might only need the last week or month for active dashboards.
So how does this pipeline handle that?
It has a couple of defined processes. First, weekly retention on the gold table. It automatically deletes data older than, say, 7 days, keeps that main reporting table lean and fast. But you might need that older data for historical analysis or compliance. So there's also an archival process. This moves the older data from gold, before it's deleted, to a separate archive location, maybe IntArchive sales marketing.
Yeah.
Usually cheaper storage.
Right. Keep active data hot, archive the rest cost effectively. Smart. Now, a really crucial part, security and auditing, protecting the crown jewels. You mentioned Unity Catalog earlier. How does that fit in?
Unity Catalog is absolutely central to governance in Databricks. It's the single place to manage access control, audit trails, lineage, everything. Let's get incredibly specific with who can see what data.
How specific? Can you give an example that goes beyond just basic roles?
Oh, definitely. You can implement column-level access. Imagine you have a total amount column. You could write a rule like case when it's account group member, finance team, then total amount else in all end. So only people in the finance team group see the real numbers. Everyone else sees NLL.
Wow, okay, so you don't need separate views just to hide one column.
Exactly. And you can do row-level security too. Maybe the marketing team should only see data where the category column is marketing. You can define dynamic views that enforce that automatically based on the user's group membership. It simplifies security and helps massively with privacy rules.
That sounds powerful for making sure the right people see the right data. What about tracking who did what, the audit side?
Yep, Unity Catalog handles that too with its audit trail. It logs things like when data was ingested, where it came from, source, and critically, user actions, who queried what, who changed permissions, gives you that full transparency needed for security reviews and compliance checks.
Okay, so data's ingested, cleaned, aggregated, managed, and secured. Now we need to see it. The reporting layer. How do business users typically connect to this gold data?
It's designed to connect easily to standard BI tools. Think Power BI, Tableau, Looker, whatever your organization uses. The gold table provides a clean, reliable source for those tools to pull data from.
And what kind of things might we see on a dashboard built on this? What insights become visible?
Well, a typical sales and marketing insights dashboard built on this gold data might show you things like a sales trendline chart. How are sales performing over the last week or month? Maybe a category breakdown pie chart, where is our revenue or spend concentrated? You'd likely have some key 7-day KPIs for quick performance checks, and probably detailed category tables if you want to drill down into specifics.
And crucially, how up-to-date is this? Are we talking daily refresh or faster?
The pipeline's designed to support frequent refreshes. A common schedule is refresh every hour. This gives you that near real-time view, allowing teams to react quickly to changes as they happen, not just review things the next day.
This whole system sounds impressive, but also complex to manage. How do we automate it all? The engine room. Automation and orchestration? Let's start with CI/CD and deployment. How do we get changes rolled out reliably without manual steps?
Right, CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment is key here. It automates the whole process of testing your code changes and deploying them to production. takes human error out of the equation, speeds things up, makes deployments repeatable and safe.
What tools typically make this happen in a Databricks context?
Often you'll manage your infrastructure like the Databricks workspace itself using Terraform. That's infrastructure as code. The actual pipeline code, the notebooks or scripts, lives in Git, like Azure DevOps repos or GitHub. That's your source control. Then you have a CI/CD pipeline set up, maybe in Azure DevOps pipelines or GitHub Actions.
And what does that pipeline actually do when a developer pushes a change?
It kicks off automatically, maybe on a Git push or a pull request. It'll run steps like lint and unit test notebooks, basically code quality checks. If those pass, it uses something like Databricks bundle deploy to package and push the code to the Databricks workspace. It might then run some validation checks using the Databricks CLI to make sure the jobs are configured correctly. And finally, it'll notify via Slack mail whether it succeeded or failed. Full automation.
Okay, so CI/CD gets the code deployed safely, but what actually runs the pipeline day to day makes sure task A finishes before task B starts. That's orchestration.
Exactly. You need something to orchestrate the flow, manage the dependencies between all these different steps: ingestion, silver, gold, retention, refresh. That's where tools like Databricks workflows or maybe Apache Airflow come in. They act as the conductor.
Can you map out a simple workflow chain for this pipeline, like a sequence?
Sure. It's often visualized as a DAG, a direct acyclic graph. It might look something like this. Task 1, ingest sales.json. Task 2, ingest marketing.json. These might run in parallel. Once both are done, task 3, silver layer DQ checks runs. Then task 4, gold layer curation, followed by task 5, data retention and archive. And finally, task 6, refresh dashboards. The orchestrator manages this whole chain, handling failures, retries, dependencies.
It really brings it all together. Okay, wrapping up, this feels like a really solid enterprise-ready approach. Can we quickly list that best practices checklist again? What makes this the gold standard?
Yeah, let's recap the key elements. Using autoloader with schema evolution for that flexible ingestion. Having checkpointing at every stage, bronze, silver, gold for resilience. Using watermarking if you're doing complex time-based aggregations ensures accuracy. Robust data validation in the silver layer null checks, deduplication. Comprehensive security using Unity Catalog for fine-grained access and auditing. Automated data retention and archival for cost and compliance. Full CI/CD automation for reliable deployments. And built-in observability logging, monitoring, alerting so you know how the pipeline is performing.
What an incredibly thorough deep dive. We've really gone from start to finish on a production-grade data pipeline on the Databricks Lakehouse, taking raw JSON, potentially messy, landing in cloud storage and turning it into secure, reliable, curated insights ready for dashboards. It's scalable, secure, automated, handles near real-time updates. Pretty comprehensive.
Absolutely. It really serves as a fantastic blueprint, I think. It balances that cloud scalability with the nuts and bolts of data quality, security, operational rigor. It's built in a way that's hopefully developer-friendly, but also meets those tough enterprise requirements. It's interesting how these architectural patterns like the medallion layers help simplify what's actually quite a complex flow underneath.
Yeah.
Makes it easier to reason about.
Definitely. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with. This pipeline, as powerful as it is really a foundation. It's designed to be easily extendable. So imagine you have this clean, reliable, governed data flowing through. What else could you do? What if you added ML-powered segmentation on top of that gold data? Or maybe forecasting to predict sales trends? Or what about using semantic search or vector analytics on related text data like customer reviews, linking it back to these sales figures? Think about how this kind of solid foundation could unlock even more advanced insights specific to your own world.